regulating and prohibiting the sale and distribution of kratom products in unincorporated areas of Fresno County, waive reading of the ordinance in its entirety, and set the second hearing for December 9th, 2025. Designate county council to prepare a fair and adequate summary of the proposed ordinance and direct the clerk of the board to post and publish the required summaries in accordance with Government Code Section 25124B1.
Okay. Supervisor Magzik.
Thank you, Chairman. So with this particular item, kratom, I had really never heard of this until just a few months ago. And actually, Dr. Vora, our public health officer, back on, I think on September 19th, was on a local television station talking about the dangers of kratom. And so as I began to do research, I reached out to the public health department after hearing what Dr. Vora had to say. And he, of course, just shared that kratom is something which is not regulated whatsoever. It has addictive characteristics to it. And a lot of people are using it, and children can even have access to it because there's nothing that limits the ability of kids or anyone from being able to buy this particular drug. And so as I worked with the public health department, I asked, is this something that doctors prescribe? And what they shared with me was, no, that was not the case. So what I would like to do, if I could have Joe and Dr. Vora both come up to the microphone, I want to just talk a little bit further about how we got to where we are today, because we've gone through a number of iterations of what a potential ordinance could look like, where at one point we were talking with the sheriff's department as well as the district attorney's office about prosecuting individuals who may be selling this particular item, to where we are today, where really it's an administrative ordinance. The whole goal is to limit retail sales of kratom, both in synthesized form as well as its natural form. And so, Dr. Vora, if you could talk a little bit about what you just shared back in September, and also, too, based upon your background in studies as someone who not only knows about infectious diseases, but also poison control and addictive drugs, if you could share a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Supervisor, and good morning, everybody. In a nutshell, kratom is a substance that's well known to medical toxicologists like myself. Unfortunately, you're absolutely right. In a nutshell, it's unregulated, unpredictable, and underappreciated as a true cause of harm. So I'm so glad that we have the chance to talk about it today. I think that when it comes to addiction and drugs of abuse, there's definitely a great need for resources and education. At the same time, there's also a great need to work together with really all of the agencies that you mentioned in order to make sure that people have the information and the resources that they need to make good choices. What you said about keeping this out of the hands of young people and away from people that are otherwise, not aware of just how harmful this is right on. Los Angeles County, actually, our colleagues at the health department there, just this summer reported 7 overdoses and deaths related to kratom, sometimes in combination with other substances, sometimes by itself. There's hundreds that have been documented worldwide and nationwide. So this is something that seems to be taking off. What exactly is kratom? Well, it comes from a plant native to Southeast Asia, but now with worldwide popularity as these things are. And the kratom plant has a very complicated pharmacology. Unlike fentanyl or heroin, for example, it's not just an opioid. It's an opioid plus a stimulant. Plus, there's a lot of other receptors that it hits. The reason that that's important for clinicians to know is that it can cause a really complicated picture. Some people don't act like they have an opioid overdose going on. They may act more like they have a stimulant or a methamphetamine overdose going on. It can also cause dependence. It can also cause withdrawal syndromes. All of these things are so new to the world of medicine that even a lot of doctors aren't aware of what kratom is and can do. Certainly, you're hearing from patients and parents and other groups that are very concerned about this. And as a toxicologist, I scan the literature quite a bit. So it is concerning. Another development of kratom is that it's actually being purified. So it's being taken out of the plant that has over 40 different active compounds. And now just 1 or 2 of those compounds are being purified. You might have heard of something called 7-hydroxymitragynine. 7-hydroxy is just one of the 40 alkaloids found in the plant. It's basically kratom on steroids. So kratom is bad enough by itself, itself, but this is just a very powerful compound found within the plant. And that 7-hydroxy, which is now found in pills and capsules and many other formulations and just sold very widely, is actually something that's causing even more problems just because it's so potent. And that's the one that seems to act a lot like an opioid. So basically, we're looking at an opioid plus other really messy pharmacology. It does have the risk of death, has been documented to have fatal consequences. But even more importantly, from a public health standpoint, it can cause things like seizure disorders and liver failure and dependence, and just really, fracture people's lives and really cause a lot of wasted resources for people that may be in legitimate pain, may be in legitimate throes of addiction, but who just don't have access or aren't aware of much safer harm reduction efforts and much safer medications that can be used to help with things like opioid use disorder or other mental health problems that they may be going through.
I think CDPH as well as FDA have identified kratom as a drug of concern. So can you speak to why there's not more regulation on it and how right now anybody can get their hands on it and the concentration levels can be such where an individual can basically die by buying something at a retail shop?
This is not specific to kratom, but it does fall into this larger category where, drug cycles go through. A new drug will come on the market. It will be regulated, et cetera, and then outlawed in some form, and then some other drug that's related but not quite the same is then circulated around. I think kratom has fallen through some of those loopholes where people use it or say that it's a supplement or even a food product or a food additive, and therefore it evades some of the more classic, legal channels. And again, I'm not a legal expert, but that's how it seems to evade a lot of these legal channels. FDA, to their credit, has said this needs to be regulated further and scheduled, and I think that there's a lot of controversy about where exactly that jurisdiction falls. It's certainly something that my CDPH colleagues and I have talked extensively about so that we can make sure that we're able to do what we need to do to protect the public's health, but also act within our jurisdiction, as it were, when it comes to things like environmental health regulation, et cetera. So, this is a lot of drugs do this. Certainly something that you call a supplement and that comes from a plant has given people the perception that it's entirely safe and natural. We know that there's a lot of things that come from plants that are not safe that are not safe just because they're natural. And so I think that there's a lot of public education that needs to be done about exactly what this is. And, more consistency and regulation would certainly be welcome.
And are you aware of any safe doses of kratom? Because I know it can be used in teas. I've seen it being concentrated and used in gummies and shots, drinks.
Yeah.
Is there any safe level that is recognized by public health?
That's a great question. It's a little bit of a trick question just because there's a lot of host factors. Some people are just more vulnerable to things like seizures, et cetera. So I would hate to say that there's a safe dose without knowing more about what an individual patient is undergoing. A lot of people that are gravitating towards kratom already have some underlying issues. They may be addicted to other drugs and now they're trying to detoxify from things like fentanyl or alcohol, et cetera. They may have chronic pain syndromes, et cetera. They may be medicated from that with a lot of other pharmaceuticals. So it becomes really messy really quickly. And I would say because it's so unpredictable that it's really best to work with a clinician who can give you a safe, controllable drug that is more predictable, just because you really don't know what you're buying when you buy like a sachet of tea leaves or something like that, or even a capsule that's full of powder. You really don't know what you're getting your hands on, and so you're in that sense you're in that sense gambling, and that's the story with all street drugs.
All right. Thank you both. I'm ready for the public, unless if other members have questions.
Is there any, go ahead.
I have some questions. So the FDA, as you said, labels this a drug of concern. You asked, are there safe doses? Good question, but you say you don't know if there's safe doses for this.
Well, not everybody dies from using it. There's people that are using it for, a long time at less than 5 grams, et cetera. But like I said, I don't want to be out there recommending a low dose of kratom out there just because it's had generations or centuries of use in Southeast Asia.
But what I mean is that there's no standard for administering kratom. I
Correct.
mean, you take a medication, you say, take this pill, 20 milligrams,
Right.
5 times a day or 1 time a day.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that for this.
Right. Yeah. So if you actually know what amount milligram wise you're taking of mitragynine, then we can have a conversation about what a safe dose of that is. When you're just buying something from the grocery store, you don't even know what's in there or how many milligrams that is. And that's why I say it's really, I think, irresponsible for us to say that there's a safe dose of store-bought items.
Why hasn't this been put on a controlled substance list? If it's this dangerous, why?
That's a great question. I think, these things take time. I certainly can't speak to the federal agencies. I think that they're trying to get the word out. I really support the messaging that's coming out of the FDA about this, but I honestly don't know why it hasn't been regulated more closely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dr. Vora, for that presentation. I shared this with our team, I think yesterday, but I actually took one of those energy drinks that had this substance earlier this year and had a very negative effect to it. Dizziness, nausea. It was maybe for about 3-4 hours or so. But are we today, and maybe this question for Supervisor Magzik, are we today trying to regulate it or completely ban it? Because I think it's for underage folks only, right?
Yeah, so the first iteration, what we put together, we were trying to regulate it for people 21 and younger. But as I continued to do more studies, because there is no safe dosage, the goal today, and what we did is we took the criminal element away. The goal today, as it currently is written, is to ban kratom sales. It doesn't ban possession. So individuals who maybe have a plant at home, they can continue to use that plant as they see fit. But retail sales of kratom products would be basically eliminated in Fresno County, where we have jurisdiction.
So unincorporated areas, Callaway, Malaga, Fig Garden, those areas.
But your anecdote is great, if I might interrupt. I mean, did you have any idea what you were drinking? I mean, there's really no warnings, right? I mean, there's really not a lot of education.
The part that was more concerning for me, Dr. Burrow, was the fact that the bottles are kind of camouflaged to look like just energy drinks.
Exactly.
And when I saw them, they were mostly tailored to young people that are attracted to like bright colors and some of those like graphics that they have. And I think it was at a convenience store that they just had them out on the counter.
Right
and
next to the
people think it's a Red Bull or something like that.
Yeah.
So I guess my question for Dr. Bora is, do doctors prescribe this, or do they,
I don't know of any doctor that prescribes it. I mean, I think a lot of people are quote unquote self-medicating and gravitating towards what they read on the internet and then going out and maybe experimenting with it, et cetera. Certainly it's easily available as your experience shared. And in the supplement aisle, you'll find sodas, you'll find beverages. I mean, it's just sort of hidden in plain sight. So I think even if, regardless of what age we set the threshold at, we're going to have our work cut out for us, between the education that needs to be done and really just going through and making sure that the vendors know what they're actually stocking on their shelves, and then, trying to really wrap our heads around, a lot of the online sales that are happening. So this is a big thorny issue.
And these can be purchased on Amazon or eBay or online. There's no regulation from that, right?
Yeah, I bet you're correct. I mean, I haven't done an extensive search, but that's how a lot of these drugs, unfortunately, they're called legal highs in the jargon of medical toxicology. And a lot of these legal highs are entirely driven by online sales. And so that's something that really requires a national movement.
Yeah, and I'm supportive of this measure, Supervisor Magzik. I guess I just want to get down to the logistics of how we're going to. Is this going to be our code enforcement folks? Is it going to be our sheriff's deputies that are going to be going out there and inspecting and then citing or informing these folks?
Great question. So originally we sat down with the district attorney's office, with the sheriff's department, and we decided that the best way to do it is to actually have public health and code enforcement be the ones enforcing it. Because right now, public health does inspections of commercial sites that sell tobacco products, mini marts that sell different products like that. So this will be added to a list of things that will not be allowed to be sold, and I'll allow Joe to elaborate a little bit on that.
No, thank you. Joe Prado, Interim Director for Fresno County Department of Public Health. That is our strategy that Supervisor Maxig kind of laid out. What we will be prioritizing areas, markets that are near schools and areas like that. So we will be prioritizing our resources to really do some education. We, like Dr. Vora described, there's businesses, there's also education public health. What is this? And what label should you be looking for to see where if is contained in that? It's a logistically, that's what we area and move throughout an incorporated area.
And that's what I'm
Did it stop? Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was her Wi-Fi. It had to be her Wi-Fi, or I don't know. Her internet went out, so she should be coming back on soon. Freaking Wi-Fi.
deputies, whatever it takes. I think we need to make sure that we keep our public safe.
Yeah,
Thank you,
agreed.
Supervisor.
Is there any public comment on this item? Yeah, get up and get in line.
Hi, I'm Rich Greaves. I'm just a regular citizen. Everything that we're hearing today sounds very scary. I wanted to speak on my personal experience with kratom. I've been using it for about 5 years. It was introduced to me from a family member who did quite a lot of research and, in fact, made a film about it. I, at the time, was drinking energy drinks, and it is something that I became addicted to. Now, over the course of my consuming energy drinks, I ended up losing % of my hair fell out, and I didn't know why. It was called alopecia, and I had to shave my head and walk around, and it was a little embarrassing, but I was introduced to kratom, just the leaf, not the 7-OH, which I don't have much experience with. It's a pretty scary thing, I'm sure, from what I've heard. But I do know that the kratom leaf allowed me to stop drinking energy drinks and to continue my pursuit of being healthy. The use of that actually helped me and my sister cut alcohol completely out of our life. Over the course of about 3 years, my hair grew back. Now, there's a lot that is unknown, and I definitely advocate for the research and study of the kratom leaf, but to prohibit it completely concerns me. Concerns me that we're going to take access to people like me and completely remove it. And all the things that you pointed out about the illicit market and things that could go that way concern me. So I'd like to advocate for a closer look and not a prohibition of kratom. That's all.
Thank you.
Good morning, supervisors. Thank you for allowing my public comment. My name is Stephen Krugenberg. I own a gym of over 4,000 members here in Fresno, and Kratom has been used safely in the gym industry, the fitness industry for years. I'm here to respectfully oppose a ban on Kratom under Agenda Item 6. I want to share my perspective. I come from a fitness and health-focused lifestyle where heavy caffeine consumption is extremely common. Pre-workouts, energy drinks, stimulants, and multiple cups of coffee just to function or train. For years, that was normal to me. Even though crashes, jitters, elevated heart rate, it never felt healthy. I also don't drink alcohol, so finding something that supports focus, motivation, and balance without harming my body has always been important. When I discovered Kratom, I approached it cautiously and responsibly. To my surprise, it offered something I had never experienced from caffeine, a calmer, smoother sense of focus and well-being without the jitters, without the crash, without the feeling wired or overstimulated. For me and many others in the fitness community, Kratom has become a healthier alternative to excessive caffeine and alcohol. It allows us to balance overstimulation and wellness over unhealthy coping habits. So I know a lot of people, they use Kratom. I'd rather have them going home and sipping on something with Kratom in it than sipping on a beer. Obviously, if we should be talking about banning Kratom, we should be talking about banning alcohol, because we know in 10 years, that's going to be drinking poison, right? So I want to be clear. I fully support regulation, age limits, testing, labeling, oversight. That makes sense and protects consumers. But banning Kratom removes the regulated, transparent marketplace and replaces it with an unregulated one. That does not protect public health, it undermines it. I respectfully urge the board to choose responsible regulation instead of prohibition. Many of us rely on Kratom as a healthier option aligned with a lifestyle of wellness, discipline, and prevention, not harm. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rosie Kritzer. In 2021, I went out shopping, and when I came back 2 hours later, my son was dead. He was 28 years old, and the only thing they did, he did have a history of drug abuse, so obviously we thought it was an overdose. It was an overdose, but it was an overdose of Kratom. It's been used for probably centuries in Malaysia, but they chew the leaf. They make it as a tea. He'd been using it for years as a tea, but now when it becomes concentrated with alcohol, it's deadly, and there hasn't been enough public awareness of this. He thought he had done all his research. He knew all about Kratom, which receptors it affected, how it affected the body. He knew probably more than most doctors know about it, but it still killed him. So we need to have, and you can find it at any smoke shop in Fresno. You can find little bottles, and I think the real harm is in those concentrated forms. I also know people who used it as a pain management who said, if I didn't have my Kratom and I had a gun next to me, I would have taken the gun in the morning if I didn't have my Kratom. So it's one of those, has to be weighed down. But I think a public awareness, and I commend Fresno County for bringing this up, is needed. So more of the young people need to know that it can be deadly, but it's still, they can get it online. So, it's like, yes, you can ban it here, but they're gonna get it there. But I think a public awareness would be really helpful. Thank you.
Good morning, supervisors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this subject. I have a few prepared remarks, but Fresno's proposed ordinance would ban any product containing kratom, including kratom leaf products that are used responsibly by more than 23 million American adults and at least 3 million Californians. This approach goes further than necessary and does not target the actual source of public concern. There are two products sold under the name kratom. One is a natural leaf kratom, which is a botanical that's been used safely for centuries in Southeast Asia and at least 50 years in the United States for its functional benefits. The second is a potent chemically manipulated product like concentrated synthetic 7-OH opiate products that masquerade as natural kratom. These manipulated products are highly potent, have opiate-like effects, and are the cause of reports of adverse events, poison control spikes, and 6 deaths seen in LA County. On July 29th, the HHS, FDA, and DEA announced coordinated federal action to schedule concentrated synthetic 7-OH that is found in the novel opioid products as Schedule I controlled substance. Crucially, the FDA made it exceedingly clear that the recommendation applies only to the products containing concentrated, unnatural levels of 7-OH, not natural kratom leaf products that contain minute amounts of natural 7-OH. In some cases, it's less than 0.05%. The Fresno ordinance conflicts with this guidance from the federal government. Additionally, Orange County, Riverside, Laguna, and Huntington Beach have already addressed this issue by restricting and banning concentrated synthetic 7-OH products above 2% of the alkaloid fraction, and whilst preserving adult access to natural kratom products. Irvine and Santa Cruz have recently moved toward the same targeted public health-based framework. As currently drafted, the Fresno proposal does not align with the policy models of surrounding jurisdictions. If Fresno wishes to act, it should follow the federal government, ban products containing 2% or more of concentrated synthetic 7-OH, and allow regulated access to natural kratom products. This approach targets bad actors and dangerous products, aligns with the FDA and the DEA guidance, and maintains consistency with neighboring counties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I apologize, I didn't print my notes, and I don't have my glasses, so I'm looking at tiny font. Hi, my name is Allison Smith. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the Global Kratom Coalition, and I am here to speak on behalf of those who cannot be here either due to disability or they work a 9-to-5 job and can't be here. Fresno's purported ordinance would ban the sale of any product containing natural kratom, including the products as mentioned that are used by 3 million Californians approximately. I understand that Supervisor Magzig says that this is just a blanket ban, however, sales ban, excuse me. However, this approach goes further than necessary and it does not target the source of our concern. We ask that you protect natural choice and penalize the dangerous products. There is a line that needs to be drawn. Otherwise, we're attacking the freedom of natural choice for individuals, and you are, the natural choice is because of bad actors pursuing commercial interest. We ask that you regulate natural kratom leaf and go after those companies that are selling these dangerous products. The FDA website does not reflect the Commissioner McCary and the FDA's latest position that was stated on the July 29th press conference. And additionally, there is an FDA single ascending dose study that I would be happy to share with you that shows that humans had a well toleration of natural kratom products at 4 times the normal serving size of a natural kratom product. Additionally, at the federal level, with the consideration of 7-OH being added to the schedule, there is also legislation at the state level, such as State Bill AB 1088, which is expected to be considered in this upcoming legislative session. I've also been told that there may be a hearing on this either December or January of next year. Additionally, as stated previously, Orange County, Riverside, Laguna Niguel, Huntington, Irvine, and Santa Cruz have also proposed or have passed regulations or are looking at regulations that regulate access to natural kratom, 21 plus age gating, packaging that isn't attractive to children, put it behind a glass box and show an ID to be able to purchase it, while also banning these concentrated synthetic 7-OH products that are dangerous, they are addictive, and they are killing people. I shared an ordinance with Supervisor Magzig that does do just that and would love to have it considered before we proceed with a blanket sales ban. This is the product that GKC supports, and I would love to be a resource and offer additional information as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm going to be a little bit duplicative with folks who've just spoken. My name is Jeff Laredo. I'm a retired federal policy official, having spent 30 years working on addiction and mental health policy, and most of those years were at the National Institutes of Health, at both the National Institute on Drug Abuse and the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. I now live over in Santa Cruz, and I'm a consultant to the American Kratom Association, which advocates on behalf of kratom consumers. I'm here today to urge you to rely on science and evidence and reject this proposed ordinance or amend it. We all want to preserve public safety and stop bad actors from harming our communities. And in this case, the best way to do that is to target the actual problem. All of these concentrated 7-OH products that you've heard other folks talk about, not natural leaf kratom products. The proposed ordinance criminalizes the sale and distribution of all kratom products, as well as any product claiming to be kratom, like 7-OH. By approving the ordinance, you would include natural kratom leaf products and impose penalties that sweep in responsible consumers and lawful natural products. So let me be clear, natural kratom and concentrated synthetic 7-OH are not the same thing. I really encourage you to look at the current science, not emotion, not hyperbole, and I would also ask you to look beyond the background memo that you've received. Unfortunately, it isn't a document that's completely based on what we know today from scientific research and clinical practice. Over the past several years, the FDA also has been unfortunately inconsistent on kratom issues, but things are improving a lot. As you've heard, HHS, FDA, and the Drug Enforcement Administration have launched coordinated federal action to categorize the concentrated synthetic 7-OH products as Schedule I controlled substances, and we absolutely support that. And also, crucially, the FDA, Commissioner McCary and the Secretary himself of HHS made it really clear. They are not talking about natural leaf kratom products. They are talking about the concentrated 7-OH products. They were clear about that in their press conference. They've been clear about that in the press. Natural kratom contains only a trace of oxidation-generated 7-OH and doesn't share the risks created by these manipulated derivatives. Consumers, regulators, and retailers are increasingly unable to distinguish natural kratom from synthetic 7-OH products, and this confusion is absolutely contributing to public health danger. The synthetic 7-OH products are what really should be prohibited, but if you decide to pursue action, as you've heard, join your colleagues across California in places such as Riverside, Orange, and Santa Cruz counties to reject an outright ban. Amend the ordinance to target those really dangerous products. You could return to your original draft. And you wouldn't even have to just have it for underage consumers. So let's protect adult access to natural leaf kratom products and follow the current lead of the FDA, not the bad actors misrepresenting their products.
Okay.
And I hear the bell, so I'm going
thank
to stop. Thank you so much for listening.
After you, nobody else comes up, because you're supposed to have gotten in line.
Oh, I was just waiting for the line to die down.
Well, no, you stand in line here.
Oh, got it. All right, my apologies. Is it okay to proceed?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, my name is Ryan Sherman. I'm with the California Narcotic Officers Association. Wanted to chime in here on this issue. We've been working on this issue around the state with many of the local jurisdictions that have been mentioned earlier. And we're here to express our strong support to prohibit the sale and distribution of concentrated synthetic 7-hydroxymetragenine, 7-OH, here in Fresno. 7-OH is the psychoactive component of kratom leaves and is being synthetically concentrated into various products that are sold in gas stations, smoke shops, and other retail and online venues in the county. They're often promoted as dietary supplements, claiming to a broad range of issues. These products come in such forms as tablets, gummies, drink mixes containing synthetic concentrated 7-OH, which significantly increases its adverse and potentially life-threatening effects. High doses of concentrated synthetic 7-OH, when it is co-used along with alcohol or other sedatives, can cause severe respiratory depression and death. As they are unregulated, many contain unknown concentrations of synthetic 7-OH, increasing the risk of an unintentional overdose. Medical research has shown that 7-OH binds to the same receptors in the brain as traditional opioids, creating a risk for dependency, withdrawal, and overdose, especially when combined with other substances. Despite being marketed as a natural product, concentrated synthetic 7-OH has no approved medical use and is widely recognized by health authorities as dangerous. As was stated earlier, in July of this year, the FDA issued warning letters to firms for illegally marketing of concentrated synthetic 7-OH products, and they indicated, quote, 7-OH is not lawful in dietary supplements and cannot be lawfully added to conventional foods. Additionally, there are no FDA-approved drugs containing 7-OH, and it is illegal to market any drugs containing 7-OH. Consumers who use 7-OH products themselves to products that have not been proven safe or effective for any use, end quote. And just this summer, also asked the DEA to consider designating concentrated synthetic 7-OH as Schedule 1. So there have been the deaths in LA County that were previously mentioned. All of those, in fact, when you do the research, almost all of the problems that you see related to kratom aren't actually kratom, it's 7-OH. And that's the really harmful substance. CNOA has been, like I said, been extremely active working on this issue throughout the state. We've been strong supporters of the bill.
Just go ahead and finish.
Thank you. I'm just about done. With the Assembly Bill 1088 that was previously mentioned, we worked with Orange County and Riverside County. But to be clear, CNOA not seeking a ban on natural kratom, as that product does not pose a deadly threat to our communities, as does 7-OH. Instead, like I said, our efforts throughout the state have been mirroring the FDA's approach, focusing on raising awareness and seeking to ban 7-OH throughout the state.
Okay, your time's up.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. I'm going to bring it back to the board.
If I could have Dr. Vora and Joe come up. So, question, Dr. Vora, since you are an expert in the field when it comes to drugs in general, pharmaceuticals and the like, how do you tell the difference between synthetic kratom and natural leaf, especially when there's not a label, you're dealing with a pill?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think it's going to rely on laboratory testing, and that's where, unfortunately, that's a real challenge because certainly not every hospital lab and even our public health lab will be able to do that kind of analysis. It requires specialized laboratory testing. So if you are, I think all of these points are well taken, and I really appreciate everybody's comments. I know Mark Benjamin and I are always looking for ways to grow our hair back, so I really appreciate, thanks for the tip on that.
Hey, watch it. I'm right behind you.
No, seriously, I think if you want to set a line at 2% or set a line at hydroxy versus not, that just requires laboratory analysis to actually do that enforcement. And I just don't see how, I would love to hear ideas about how that could be executed. And certainly we'll be watching the other counties that have kind of moved forth in that direction to see how successful they are. I just have my doubts. So I hope that answers your question. Like, you just need a fancy laboratory, and we certainly don't have that in Fresno County.
Well, I think it did because trying to differentiate, and you indicated it's going to require taking samples at a lab and then the lab telling you what the concentration level is. Ultimately, if we make exceptions, really people could say, oh, it's under this level, and it might be over the level, and the only way to find out is through testing. So and again, with what we've done, with what you've helped me put together, we are not, individuals who have the natural leaf, you're allowed to possess it, but the commercial establishments are not allowed to sell it anymore. And a lot of those commercial establishments are near schools, and the goal is to really keep this out of the hands of kids. But also, too, I heard you say there is no safe level of kratom to use because it affects people differently. So again, if I've misunderstood anything, please correct me, Doctor.
Well, I think that the multiple commentators did add that the 7-hydroxy is the real dangerous element in all of this, and that's certainly true. However, it's really hard to know what you're getting into just because the supplement sort of arena is really the Wild West. I mean, it's not very well regulated. Those companies don't have to be honest about their labeling. So certainly, bad actors can get by with a pass, and good actors that are trying to do the right thing and trying to do their testing and their labeling honestly, unfortunately, it's really hard to parse out who those folks are. So that's what makes this so complicated and so thorny, aside from the larger issue of things like online sales.
Yeah, so the main problem is it's unregulated. So people can put whatever they want on the label, and it's not illegal technically.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Mr. Chairman, I would just add my comments. When I first saw this, I thought we're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And before it was age restricted, we were here to protect our youth. And now we're kind of telling adults what they can and can't use. I've heard discussion, I've listened to the items, and to me it seems clear that there's two types. There's a leaf and then there's a concentrated kind. And we're going to tell people not to do it. I appreciate Supervisor Magsig about you saying you're just going to eliminate it from commercial establishments by schools and things. I can appreciate that. And then I like the fact that you also stated it's not illegal to possess. So I'm a little bit conflicted on this because we're really not doing anything other than banning it from being sold in the county, because technically we can go online and I can have it shipped to my house today. So for the aspect of keeping it away from the kid, I can appreciate, but the complete ban on adults that have come forward, said they've used it for years, they do the leaf, to me it's clear there are two types. And it's like all drugs. If you want to use the other one, then you suffer the consequences with doing that. But if you want to use the leaf, we're getting out of our lane and we're going above and beyond, and we're going to regulate something that the FDA and the state of California hasn't even regulated yet. So to me, it always seems we want less government, and we're going to make more government. How do you justify that?
Yeah. Well, let me speak to.
Yeah. Go ahead, I'm done. Thank you. Well, again,
Here's some of the
I'm
things that
conflicted.
I'm conflicted. I seen this item when it was thought to be put on last meeting. I said, this isn't even close to being ready. It's got to wait another meeting. And then I was okay with the under 21. Okay, we're going to put it behind. I call it put it behind the counter. Okay, I was okay with that. And then it changes on Friday. It's like we. This is the only problem when we do these kind of things is sometimes we try to get them on the agenda. We want them on the agenda, but they're really not ready for prime time. And I think that's really this right now. We need something. There's no doubt about that. But I think we're a little soon on getting what we have on the agenda. The fact that it got changed, right before the 72-hour deadline is kind of a bad sign. I'm just saying that and you know me, I'm kind of a wonky guy on, I like to see things out plenty of time that they can be digested, not, right before the time they need to be published. So go ahead.
Yep, appreciate that. So one of the reasons for the changes that happened is we were trying to really protect kids under the age of 21, and we took a look at, and I started asking the question, what levels of kratom are safe? And we came to the conclusion that there are no levels that are safe. And a challenge with it is I felt that the way that the ordinance was written, it made it sound like Fresno County is legalizing kratom for those who are 21 and older. And so I had concerns with that when I continued to reread the ordinance, and on Monday I started working on a fix, and I reached out to Joe and I said, I got a problem with this because really I'm not aware of any county, any city that is saying kratom is okay. And I talked further with Dr. Vora about it. I'm like, is there any safe level of kratom? And he indicated no. There's not. It affects people differently, and so that's what caused the change to happen. And so, and to Buddy's point, I agree. The reason this was pulled off from last meeting and needed some additional work to be done is it wasn't ready. Yeah. And sometimes as you're working on something, it's not ready until a few days before the meeting. And I think where we are today, it is ready. the challenge I have, where I'm hard pressed with this, is the fact that the FDA has identified this substance as being a drug of concern. We've heard from people here today who've indicated that they've had loved ones who've passed away from it, and we know that in Los Angeles, just over the course of the summer, 7 people died because of kratom and then other drugs that were in their system as well. And so I'm left asking the question, this is something right now that anybody can buy. Kids can get it, adults can get it, and it's having adverse impacts on people in our community. I know when we stepped forward and really pushed against fentanyl, when no one knew what the heck fentanyl was a few years ago, a lot of people were kind of scratching their heads, and then they used Fresno County as a model moving forward. So for me, with the ordinance as it's written, I think it's even more simple than it was compared to where it was going to be at the last meeting, because our inspectors have to be the ones that go forward in these facilities. They don't have labs with them, so if they're going to be identifying substances with kratom, it needs to be a simple process for them, being as simplified as possible.
Dr.
Shit, Jen, is your Wi-Fi messing up?
From audio. Synthetic. Do you know natural?
Yep, her Wi-Fi messed up again, so we gotta. Freaking Wi-Fi. Gotta wait for her to come back on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Nah, good. Michael, what's up, dude? Nah, you good. Oh, we got 2 Michaels in the house. And Bunny, I seen your comments too. Man, I wonder if I should just share the screen. Where the fuck are you, Jennifer? Technical difficulties, y'all. Just like the dude who introduced the ordinance. I love her profile picture.
Say the 7-hydroxy sort of synthetic, it's not synthetic, it's just purified version of that leaf is more dangerous. But you know, the original leaf could have high concentrations of that or something else in it. We just don't know.
Okay, but that doesn't really answer the question, which is this product sold as a natural leaf kratom versus the 7-OH synthetic?
Yeah, I mean, it's sold in many different
and I don't know if these
formulations. I mean, it's sold as dried leaves, it's sold as capsules, it's sold in beverages. There's many different ways that people are consuming it, and I'm sure people here in the audience can even share even more about this. So yeah, it's sold in many different formulations in different ways.
But I heard, if I'm not mistaken, the gentleman from narcotics said that they didn't have a concern with the natural leaf kratom, and that's from the guy from narcotics, but clearly has a problem with this 7-OH product. And I assume the people who are saying it has benefits are using the leaf as opposed to the synthetic. I mean, first, let me tell you, I mean, I have a problem with all of these substances. I think substituting kratom for alcohol is not good. I think you should stop. If you need dependent on kratom, you should stop any dependency on any drug, whether it's alcohol, kratom, or coffee.
Energy drinks.
Energy drinks. I mean, all of it I don't think is good. But having said, I mean, I'm
Yeah, clearly some things are more problematic than others.
well, clearly.
We're in agreement there.
But you know, I also appreciate Supervisor Magzig, and I'm prepared to support this opposing of the 70H. I don't want to provide opportunities for people to harm themselves. I don't think, you know, sometimes the FDA and not, yeah.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah, go ahead.
If I was a retailer, all I would do is take that 70H off the label. I mean, do you see the problem with this? Is like
Exactly, because it's unregulated.
you understand? I mean, and like that's so easy to do, and there's such a market for it, and there's so much demand for it. I just think that that's the, again, there's no perfect answer here, and we're going to have to make a compromise either way. But I'm just letting you know that if we do ban the 70H versus the leaf, that there's going to be a huge incentive for people to just mislabel the product, which is probably already happening anyway. But that's, you know, if you're a retailer with if you're a bad actor out there, then that's exactly what you're going to do, and that may be a risk that we have to take.
Can I invite the person from the narcotics up and ask him a question? So do you know how this product is sold, the leaf versus the 70H? I mean, can you enlighten us a bit about that?
Yes, the leaf is sold actually in leaves, or it's crushed up and put into capsules or tea bags, things like that for the natural. And again, CNOA, we don't have a position on kratom because we don't see it as a big problem. The 70H is the problem. That's why the FDA is looking to have only 70H set at Schedule 1. The FDA has made it very clear they're not touching kratom. So,
but the 70H is a synthetic form of kratom.
Yes, exactly. And so it's like you take, you know, a poppy plant, which has, you know, opium in it. But if you were to ingest a poppy plant, you know, you would get a certain response. It would be nothing like taking that same amount of heroin. Okay, the two have nothing to do with each other. There's, you know, like with methamphetamine and with, was it the stuff you have to get, Sudafed, thank you. Mine was blanking. We actually ran that bill about 10, 15 years ago to get it enacted. But the Sudafed, you know, people take it for colds, runny nose, all that kind of stuff. It's, you know, dosed out and you know what you're taking. Somebody explained the difference between kratom and synthetic 70H as comparing Sudafed to meth, because it's the fully synthesized, they're taking this one alkaloid that's in there, the 7-hydroxy, and they're amping it up, you know, 100, 200, 500 times. I mean, you can buy these little pills of hydroxy, and to the labeling point, if they were to mislabel what they're selling, the whole reason that 7-hydroxy sells is because people know that that's the product they want, because that's the product that's going to get them high.
Okay. Do we know, Supervisor,
Thank you.
thank you very much. The ordinance that was passed in orange and the other one, how they differentiated the two in their ordinance, do you know?
Yeah, so some of them specifically call out the 70H, and then others also, in addition to that, any products that have this are handled similar to tobacco, where they're kept behind a counter so kids can't get a hold of it, which I think is very important. But then when it comes to the natural leaf products, still adults, you know, can buy that, but concentration levels, I think above 2% are banned in general. So that's what I've seen in other counties. And to get support of the board, I think this is definitely it is a product of concern.
Yep.
And to the extent that people's liberties and freedoms are preserved, I want that too, absolutely. But because of what I've discovered the last few months, and then working with public health department, I think doing nothing is a problem. And so I'm willing to amend the ordinance slightly, making an exception for natural leaf products, and specifically calling out 70H products with concentration levels above 2% as also being banned. And to protect kids, originally the ordinance identified these products as being behind a counter with tobacco products. I'm willing to put that back in there as well to gain the support of this board. But I think we need to do something to protect kids and to make the public aware that this is something that we're definitely concerned with.
Well, I appreciate.
I would
I'm sorry.
support that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I would support that
Go ahead.
as well. I would agree with the chairman. If maybe you could go back and make those changes, because if we do it on the fly here, it never quite comes out right. I fully support your intent in protecting our kids. I just think this went a little far. And for me, I got a great education today. I believe there's 2 different types. And the one that you want, we should completely get rid of. So for me, if you could differentiate that and refine this, I would be in full support, but I can't support it as it is written today.
Perfect. And what I would suggest, this will have to come back regardless, because anytime we pass an ordinance here, it's got to come back for a second reading, and then it won't take effect for 30 days after that. Doug, do you feel that you've been given enough direction based upon my comments to incorporate those changes once I make a motion to be able to bring back for the second reading an ordinance which includes that in there, those protections?
So in the definition of what we were banning, we would accept out natural leaf products of kratom. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But I want to make something really clear that Dr. Vora said. They can say it's natural, and they could have enhanced it if it's in a capsule form, correct? See, this is a problem. This is a federal problem and a state problem, is what makes it hard for us, because it's, like he said, this is the Wild West. There's no standards. That's the only problem with this.
Well, I might add that if you confined it to the leaf form, that would be less of a concern. It'd be easier to identify it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to compounding it with something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would do is I would make a motion for the ordinance with the modification saying that natural leaf form kratom is still allowed to be sold, but only to those who are 21 and older. Anything that has the 7-OH concentration levels at 2% or lower are allowed, but that has to be behind the counter with tobacco products where people have to produce identification to be able to buy
Should
those.
be behind the counter.
Well, currently they're not.
Yeah.
Currently everything is
On the counter.
Yeah, right out in front. So I would make those modifications, and that would be my motion.
so you're removing the ban of the 7-OH and just saying,
Well, no. So 7-OH with concentration levels, which 7-OH with concentration levels above 2% banned.
and, okay.
Anything under that is
Behind the
is
counter.
allowed. Yeah, and behind the counter.
If it's in the natural leaf form.
And natural leaf form is not banned. That is allowed.
Right.
Yes.
Just a quick question for our legal counsel. The one of the speakers, I think it was Ms. Allison Smith, mentioned that there's some state legislation working its way through Sacramento. Should that state law pass, would that supersede what we're doing here locally, Doug?
It would depend on the legislation. Sometimes legislation intentionally preempts local regulations, and sometimes it doesn't. So we'd have to see what the final form of that legislation would be.
I'd be supportive, Supervisor Maxson, with the modifications that you're making, just ensuring, and I think to Chair Mendez's point, he's right. What would stop somebody from just labeling it that other type, the leaf product, right? And then we're in a space where what's our enforcement going to look like? But I'm willing to go down that path just because I think the intent of what you're doing here today is to try to keep kids away from this stuff. What they shouldn't be anywhere close to this. And I just looked up, I think it's important for the public to see, these are all the types of products that you can actually buy. I mean, it's teas, it's drinks, it's and look at how they're marketed. They're not marketed to boomers or Gen X or, folks or whatever the term is that they use now. They're marketed to young people. And the fact that we're not criminalizing the folks that came up and spoke, they have access to it. They're not going to be criminalized for using it if they need it for therapy or rehabilitation or treatment. They're more than welcome to do that on their own, accord and their own risk. Yeah. But I think the fact that we're having this conversation today hopefully will spark a conversation with parents about what kratom is in our community and people that should not be using this. So,
Yeah, and I want to commend you, Supervisor Magzik, for bringing this forward. There's a lot we don't know. We're learning about it. It's important to put this out there, and as we work through what's the best way to approach this, we wouldn't be doing it if you didn't bring it forward. So I appreciate that, and I'm happy to second your motion.
I just have one thing that I'm always afraid of. All the years we've been here, it doesn't seem like we do on the fly very good. You know, it always ends up with, but the thing is, we've got to hear it again, and it needs to be in regular to hear it again, not put in consent. And I would be fine with that.
Sure.
So I'm going to call the question.
come back on the 9th.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried.
We now move to item number 7 under Sheriff, Coroner, Public Administrator. Conduct first hearing to amend the Fresno County Master Schedule fees, charge and recover costs ordinance by amending subsection 2609, contract
Okay.
service fees of section 2600, Sheriff, Coroner, Public Administrator. Waive reading of the ordinance in
All
its
right.
entirety and set second hearing for December 9th, 2025. Designate
Now we
county
get
council
ready
to prepare
for
a fair and adequate
Massachusetts.
summary of the ordinance
I
and direct
just
the clerk
logged
to the board to
in.
post and publish the required summary.
You just logged in?
accordance with Government Code
Yeah.
section 25124.
They just started taking public testimony, but it's not
Okay,
for
you're
ours
on.
yet, I don't think.
It's for the inmate
Chair.
stuff, huh?
Morning, Board. Thanks
I-
for having me. Brandon Purcell,
don't know.
Sheriff's Office.
It's not for Cradle.
Today we're coming before you for the
Okay, so we're
25-26
done?
master schedule fees.
Yeah, in the
It seems
YouTube.
like every
Okay.
year about this time
All right.
we go